This is the remix.
The Life of Dad Show.
Remix.
Hey everybody, Art Eddie here for the Life of Dad Show Remix. Here on Life of Dad Show Remix, we've taken past guests we've had on the Life of Dad Show and just showcased their thoughts on fatherhood. This week we're putting the spotlight on three great dads who have made a name for themselves either on the big screen or on TV. We're going to be talking with Omar Epps, Sterling K. Brown, and Greg Grunberg. All are great actors, but they're even better dads. So I hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the Life of Dad Show Remix with Omar Epps, Sterling K. Brown, and Greg Grunberg. Enjoy. Hey everyone, Art Eddie here for the Life of Dad Show and online. I'm very happy and honored to have the one and only Omar Epps. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Omar. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of your work. Congrats on the book, From Fatherless to Fatherhood. Here at Life of Dad, we like to get everybody's take on fatherhood, and we have different subgroups on our Facebook pages and on our site as well where dads just kind of connect and talk about certain things that they've gone through. So this book, I think, is definitely a must-read, and I love one of the lines that you have said, fatherhood is much more than providing food and shelter for a child. It's much more than cutting a check and checking a box. Fatherhood is about being active in a child's life and cultivating those sacred bonds of family. Man, I'm getting goosebumps because I think you nailed that right there. Talk a little bit about this book and what inspired you to write it, sir.
The reason why I wrote the book is I had a moment with my son years ago. And me, myself, I grew up without a father. And so in this moment that we shared, it made me reflect on my life. I'd started to question whether growing up fatherless had somehow crept into my fatherhood. And it was kind of a startling thought. And so that's just sort of the genesis of where it came. I wanted to explore my own journey to figure out that the answer to that question. Yeah. And it just came out in this form. At the end of the day, I want to hopefully be able to use my story as a tool of inspiration.
Yeah, I think it's a great read. I was able to check it out this week. And, I think that sometimes we, as a society, or just human nature, where it's like, oh, this is the way I was brought up, or this is the way I wasn't brought up, or whatever. I'm like, I guess this is normal. But in your book, you kind of like talk about like different things. And like you said, that moment with your son, like, all right, this is what it's going to be like because I didn't have a father. But you kind of talk about like how people who didn't grow up with a father kind of change that cycle. So how can people kind of break that cycle? Be like, well, it happened to me, so it should be fine for my kids.
Right. Well, I mean, the key to breaking the cycle is it's all about choice. It's about the power of choice, and it's about being convicted in your love for your children. There's certain things you can't really put into words, and I think that the connection between a mother and a child or a father and a child is one of those. There's just so many intangibles that connection is something that you can't really put into words. And so, I think that when you put the child first, then things sort of can work themselves out, no matter, what type of struggles a person may be going through, or even in a co-parenting situation, or, any type of situation. I think when parents put the child first, only good things can happen at the end of the day.
One of the things you said right there, co-parenting, because sometimes parents, do break up and they get a divorce and then they have to like balance that. And I love the fact that not only are you talking about, you not having a father, but then co-parenting. So it seems like you got this whole fatherhood thing. I'm not saying I'm not, because as a parent, you're always going to make mistakes and all that. But, and especially since you're in the limelight and people know who you are, were there certain things in this book that you're like, maybe I shouldn't share, or were there certain things that you're on the fence of sharing, and then maybe your family kind of helped you out with like, yeah, you should definitely put this in the book?
I kind of had a few things that I would wonder, should I go down that road? But at the end of the day, I'm like, well, if I'm going to tell my story, I have to tell it unapologetically. And this is what I experienced. And this is, or at least, when I'm talking about my childhood, this is how I perceive some of these things. How, like when we're kids, when we think back to certain things, the room we used to live in, we think it was like this huge grand thing, and then you go back and it was really small, or vice versa. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I talked with my mom, about a few things, and she was like, yeah, get your story out there. And in terms of anyone having it, quote unquote, figured out, I mean, we're just constantly works in progress. I mean, one of the things I do with my kids from time to time, when I sort of run up against it, is I say, well, hey, like now I got a 19-year-old. I'm like, I've never been the father of a 19-year-old girl. So I'm figuring this out the same way you are. Yep. You know what I mean? as your kids get older, obviously when they're young, it's really teaching and guidance. And it always is that, but it's about developing that friendship. I think it's about, our children, knowing that we're also human beings and people beyond the title of parent. Like we don't have all the answers all the time, and I think that makes for, hopefully it bodes for a better relationship as we both grow, as the parent and the child grows, because life throws curveballs at us constantly. And it's about us being able to be fluid. And so my big thing is like people constantly saying, hey, we got to, take back our communities and things of that nature. But we can't do any of that if we don't first take back our families.
Yes. Love that, man. And, one of the things with this book, they can kind of see, your kids can kind of take a look at it and see where you came from, and also too, what you're trying to do as a father. But for you, like you always said, you're always being a parent. You're always trying to instruct them. What are some, and you do have a 19-year-old, but like you said, you never stop parenting or being a father. What are some of the core values you're looking to instill into your kids as they're growing up?
Oh, I mean, I would think that they're similar to everyone's. You want them to be, honest. You want them to be good people, and you want them to move from a space of love and be understanding and, not judgmental and things of that nature. And one of my biggest things is to instill a sense of self-worth into my kids. I have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, and it's crucial to me that they, as individuals, have a sense of their own self-worth. When you have that at your core, you really don't deviate too much from that path as life, peer pressure is happening in stages, right? Peer pressure is happening in junior high. Peer pressure is happening in high school. Peer pressure is happening in college. Then you get out of college, maybe you go to grad school, maybe you get a job. It's like, it's always coming at you to go with the trend or, go with the crowd. And it never really leads to good results for a person. So, it's important to me that my kids have a sense of self-worth and that they find that leadership quality within themselves.
Love that, man. And take me back like 20 years ago when you found out you were going to be a dad, and what was kind of popping into your mind? Like, all right, I got, here comes fatherhood. What were some of your thoughts about that? It's
a precarious thing. It really starts, at least no one told me, but even when a woman is pregnant with child, it's scary, man. It's like there's so many things can go wrong, and you stay prayed up and you have these positive thoughts, but you just, at the end of the day, you just want a healthy kid to come out. And so for me, I prepped myself, I guess, as much as anyone could. I've read a couple of books. I heard some advice, but I would hear it's totally different. It's a unique, it's almost like DNA. Everyone has a different version of, parenthood, that relationship. And what's interesting, now that I have 3 kids, they have 3 different personalities. So you can't you can't carpet bomb parent. Like, okay, this way works with this, there's 3 different personalities. So it's like, to me, it's almost like akin to like friendships, right? Like if you have 2 boys, you can't talk to this one the same way you talk to this one, because they interpret things differently. And that's challenging at times, especially when you're emotional or passionate about something. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's the gift that never stops giving, and now at these stages, kids are still relatively young, but got one in college, and, so now that phase is happening, and my youngest is a teenager now, and my youngest girl rather, but my boy, he's in double digits now. So it's like, okay, we're at the next phase of this thing. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, I just want to touch on something, because I've had that thing where I have 2 daughters, 10 and 7, and like I always thought, like, all right, so my first one was Lily. Jordan, when she comes, she's like, oh, it's gonna kind of be the same, but why are they different? But like then I realized I was different from my 2 sisters, so why would it be any different from that? So I love the fact that you're like, they're all gonna be different in the way you handle it, and it's so true. You have that aha parenting moment, like, yes, they're 2 individuals, they're gonna have different personalities. So I love that. One more question about father, then I kind of want to talk a little about acting. And for new dads listening to this, what is like one big piece of advice you'd like to offer to them?
I mean, honestly, not to be sort of philosophical or cliche, but like really be present. Yeah. Really be present in the moments, because it goes so fast, man. It really does. And, so I'm not, the advice, I'm not going to say, hey, do this with your kids, do that with you. Everyone has their own way, and what works for A may not work for B, right? But you can take the good out of everything or a piece of it, and then you make it work your way. But I would say, regardless of that, you got to be present, because those first 2 years, man, they go by so fast. And like once they're mobile, it's kind of like a fast forward button. You know, once kids starts walking, you're just like, they're mobile, they're gone. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like, so, and you miss those days when they're infants and you first have a child. You know, if you look at the beauty and power of the bond that a mother and a child have, you know, beyond the womb, you know, that nurturing the child and that first 6 months, that forever bond is kind of built right there. And I kind of feel like with fathers, you know, there's room for us in that,
yep.
You know, to be a part of that nurturing the infant process so that we can have a piece of that forever bond, you know, and it never goes away. That's pretty much what I would tell new dads.
Yeah, if you told like my 20-year-old self, like, you're going to be talking to your wife's belly when 2 kids inside of her belly, like, nah, it's not going to happen. You kind of do that, just like, hey, sweetie, you know, this is your dad. So like, almost like people said, like, that kind of works when they come out and they're like, hey, I kind of remember that voice. So whether or not, maybe it's my own personal, they remembered me talking to them in the womb, but I don't know. That's just me.
No, but you know what? They do, man. They do. They make those connections start even there. And I know with my baby girl, as soon as she came out, you know, she didn't really cry. I spoke to her and she looked at me like,
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's you. You know what I mean? And she was just like, okay, yeah, I know this guy. you know?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Now we got the Life of Dad quick 5. Favorite family movie you guys like to watch together as a family right now is?
Right now?
Yeah.
Favorite family movie? Wow, I got like 15 different movies running through my head. I can go with The Wiz.
Oh, nice, man. I know you're into music. Favorite song? Maybe because I know with the different ages it might change. But was there a song or something you'd sing to as your kids when they were younger, or is there a song that you guys or a band right now that you guys can all agree on right now that you all like to sing and dance to as a family?
I mean, we like our classic. Like I used to play a lot of Donny Hathaway and things of that nature. Sade.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But it's interesting. They like a lot of the old school stuff too, and then we like some of their new stuff. But I can't say that we all have a favorite.
Gotcha.
there's some songs that they like that I'm like, what?
Yep, no doubt. Describe the perfect family vacation. Where would it be?
Oh, I don't think we've done it yet, but I would love to take the kids to Africa and just explore and have them learn about history more than what they know now. But that's one that's on the bucket list.
Nice, man. People can follow you on Instagram and Twitter at Omar Epps. And if people follow you on social media already, they know that you're big into music, especially like we talk about you. Is there like one band or musician or performer that stands out over the rest for you?
Right now?
Yeah.
It kind of depends on the mood. Sure. I mean, that's a hard one, man. It kind of depends on the mood, but you're talking between like Pharrell, Timbaland, Swift, it's
nice.
Yeah, it just depends on the mood. I can't really take that.
No, I got you, man. Nice. Yeah. And again, with your huge body of work, and then now everything that you got going on, especially you got Shooter on USA season 3 coming up. I mean, just it shows you like how talented you are for you to stay in that competing industry of the entertainment world. What is like the next project or role you would love to have?
That's an interesting question. I kind of reverse engineer it. Like I don't necessarily. I mean, outside of like a biopic of. I mean, they're doing them all now, but outside of like something like that, like, to get to play Frederick Douglass or something like that, I don't really target a specific thing in that way. And my process is more, I'm open, you know what I mean? So it's just about mining through what's out there and trying to balance that with the opportunities that come my way and make my own opportunities in the middle. And then, hopefully that perfect storm comes together.
Nice, man. People, make sure you follow Omar on Twitter and Instagram at Omar Epps, and go to FromFatherless2Fatherhood.org to pick up his great book. And like I said, catch season 3 of Shooter on USA. It's been such an honor to chat with you, man. Big fan of your work, and I really appreciate it. And the Life of Dad community appreciates the book From Fatherless to Fatherhood, man. It's a great read.
Thank you so much, brother. It was great talking to you. Love you, blog. Love what you're doing, and keep doing it, man.
Thanks, man. You take care.
All right. Thank you.
Hey everybody, it's Art Eddie for the Life of Dad show, and on the line I'm so happy and psyched to have Emmy Award-winning actor Sterling K. Brown. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Sterling. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Here at Life of Dad, we like to get everybody's take on fatherhood. So you were a dad of 2. What were some of the first few thoughts that popped into your mind when you found out you were going to be a dad?
I have wanted to be a dad since I was about 18 or 19 years old. but knew that I wasn't ready to do that,
Okay.
but wanted it very much. Like sometimes I would tell my friends, I went to undergrad at Stanford University. I was like, if I had a child right now, I would get like graduate student housing. I would just carry my kid around with me to all my classes, and I find a way to make it work. And my friends would say, you know what, man, why don't you try getting a dog first, see how that works out, and then maybe you can extrapolate from there. But it was something that always just felt right for me. I felt like, for me, and I don't want to put this on anybody else because we all have our individual paths, but for me to fully realize who I am as a person meant becoming a father. It just always felt like a part of the natural evolution of things. So when my wife became pregnant with Andrew, our first son, I just started crying, man. I can remember seeing the first ultrasound and seeing him move around and just thinking like, the miracle is happening. Like the miracle is happening right now. And even more exceptional than that, when Andrew was born, my wife had a very fast labor. She had her first contraction at 11 p.m., and Andrew was born at 2:23 in the morning the next day, so less than 3.5 hours. And it happened at night, and we were having a natural childbirth. We planned on going to a birthing center, but because everything happened so fast, and you're always told that, you know, labor can take a while and relax, have a bath, have a glass of wine. So nobody thought we were serious. We delivered the child ourselves. We had a midwife on the phone who finally got through and coached us through it. But when Andrew came into the world, it was just the three of us in our bedroom on the floor experiencing the miracle of life. So it was absolutely extraordinary from beginning to end.
That's a moment that you're going to have, you know, obviously ingrained in your mind forever. And just first, when you're telling the story, I was like, oh, he knows the time. It's all, that's great. That's like a dad knows. And then just everything from that, it was just you three. What a powerful moment right there.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. And our second child, while the midwife was there for this one, only made it with 20 minutes to go. My wife labored. I stood by her as she labored for the first hour and 40 minutes because this labor started at 3:36 p.m. and then Amari, our second child, was born at 5:40 p.m. So my wife knows how to get them into the world very expediently. We labored for an hour and 40 minutes on our own, and then the midwife made it in time. But our second child was born in the exact same spot on the floor in our bedroom. And so to have both of them born in the same place is truly amazing. And to see how each one of them evolves, because they come from the same man and same woman, but every child comes into the world with their own distinct and separate personality. And it always floors me that you are so much of who you are when you first come into the world naturally. You know?
Yeah, I look at my daughters. I'm like, wait a minute, why are they different? Oh yeah, they're unique and they should be different. So I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of the core values you look to instill into your sons as they grow up?
That's a good one. Kindness. I feel like if you have the opportunity to be truthful or be kind, that truthfulness should take a second seat to kindness. Kids have this just bold way of saying the truth, the whole truth.
Yep.
You know, so help you God, and you're like, hey man, you know, I appreciate what you're saying, and you may be right about that, but was it a nice thing to say? So I'm constantly trying to let that filter, a good filter, not something that keeps them from speaking their mind, but give them the prism to say oh, you know what, will this hurt someone's feelings? Could it hurt someone's feelings? Let me see if I can say it in a way that's not hurtful. So that's one of the ones that we're working on with the 5-year-old right now. And also just to try to be as gentle. Gentility in a young boy is not something that comes quite naturally all the time. And so he loves his little brother so much and plays with him and adores him. But sometimes he can be a little rough. So remember, you're 5, he's 1. We still need to be gentle. And then there's other things as well. It's really interesting having 2 black sons in the climate of today, with all of the ocular proof of young black men and black men in general losing their lives at the hands of law enforcement and whatnot. I was doing a play about slavery. It was by Susan Laurie Parks, and it's called Father Comes Home from the Wars. And my son was too young to watch the play, but he would come to rehearsal sometimes, and we would do fight call before I would begin the play. And in the fight call, there's a scene in which a slave master hits my character, his slave, with a riding crop. And my son was asking me, he's like, why did that man hit you? Like, did you do something wrong? And so explaining sort of the history of slavery, and which is also sort of inherent in the history of America, and trying to speak as frankly as I could, he took in what I was saying. I was talking about the Middle Passage and how black people were brought to this country. And he was saying to me after I finished speaking, he said, then you have friends who are white. And I said, I do. And he says, well, why? Why would you have friends who are white after they did this to us? And I said, well, you know, Daddy's friends didn't do this. And this took place a long time ago. And it's a constant sort of negotiation of treating people as individuals and recognizing them for their individual merits and what they bring to your life, and also recognizing the larger sort of social context of things. So it's really interesting to have those kinds of conversations with a 5-year-old, how much to share, how much to wait for to share. And it's something that my wife and I are just sort of feeling out and learning on the fly, you know?
Yeah, I got to say, Sterling, just with everything going on right now in the climate, I feel for you, and I have other black friends who have sons, and our mutual friend Ryan, who has a son who has autism, and you're like, what's going to be the climate like when he goes out, and if someone doesn't understand that he has autism, like, what's going on? So it pains me to see these things reoccur over and over again, so I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My last question before we get into Life of Dad, quick 5, is what advice would you have for new dads listening to this?
Oh, man. The advice that I would give is the advice that I always get from my mom, and that's enjoy every minute. Because especially as a new dad, try to be as present as possible, because day to day they become brand new. They discover something new. You know, that first laugh is just such a priceless moment. Figuring out what makes your kid giggle will give you so much joy, and you just do it all the time. Enjoying all of it. And also knowing that being a dad for the second time around, those times which are difficult, you won't have a lot of sleep in the beginning. You'll be exhausted. But remember, this too shall pass. Like, while it may seem like an eternity in that moment, it's not. Maintain your cool, take a deep breath, and love your child through whatever they're going through.
Yep, well said. It's a never-ending process, but the different things that might seem like, you know, a struggle or whatever, it just, fatherhood and motherhood is always ever changing. It's always evolving. You just got to make sure, like you said, just be cool and kind of go through it.
Absolutely.
Now we got the Life of Dad quick 5. Do you guys have a favorite family movie right now you like to watch together?
You know what, man? I got to tell you, I just went to the movies with Andrew, and we saw Pete's Dragon. Dude, my son and I looked at each other at the end of the movie. He said, "Are you crying, Daddy?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'm crying." He said, "I'm crying too." And it was the first one that we both got on that one, because I've taken him to so many movies. I remember when I went to go see Inside Out, and he may just have been too young, but I was a hot mess. Yeah. And he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. It'll be all right." But for the first time, we both got it. Pete's Dragon was really, really wonderful. So that's the new one. The standby that we go back to time and time again is The Incredibles. The Incredibles is just a great, great film.
Nice. Couple things. One, my oldest, she's 8 right now, but anytime we go to a movie and it's kind of most like Inside Out and my wife or myself are crying, she looks and goes, "Oh, you're crying. Are you okay? You want a hug?" And it's just kind of cute. And Incredibles, awesome. My daughters and I will just yell out, "Where is my super suit?" So yeah, great movie. Love it. Do you guys have a favorite song you guys like to sing and dance to as a family?
Let's see. Andrew will rock out to a few things. Uptown Funk gets a lot of play.
Nice.
Of course, Whip It Nay Nay is huge with every kid, and watching him perform his dance moves to that. But my favorite was when he was a little boy, and it was a da 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 da. Oh man, every time we could play it like 97 times in a row, and each time he just felt like it was the best thing in the world. So those are three that come to mind immediately.
Awesome. And I know your youngest is kind of young, so it's kind of maybe hard to have the perfect family vacation. But for you, describe the perfect family vacation. Maybe not now, but maybe in the near future.
In the near future, let's see, where will we go? The wife and I, right before Andrew was born, who's the oldest, we went to Kauai, which is one of the more peaceful places that I've ever experienced on this planet. It would be really cool to take both boys back and just see how that sort of calm affects them. Because having two boys, like my wife and I will frequently go out for dinner and see parents of girls, and the girls just sit there and they eat their food and they look so pretty and so calm. And as soon as my son takes a bite of food, he's like up out of the seat, looking to see what else is going on in the world, and just has a hard time sitting still. It would be nice to see how nature could affect them. We did take a vacation not too long ago. I'm a graduate of Stanford University, and there's an alumni trip that we take to this place called Sierra Camp, which is in Lake Tahoe. And there's this gorgeous lake, and we're surrounded by the forest. And to see him in nature is really, really cool, because it can't help but affect you. It can't help but sort of inspire you and let you know that you're just a small speck, the great scheme of the totality of Mother Nature. So it's getting him in nature always feels good.
Very cool. Just something that an older mother shared with me one time. She had a daughter and a son, and people were talking about me, like we were hanging out with friends. Two were boys, and then my daughters, and my daughters were sitting nice and all that stuff. And they said, just wait till they turn teenage years, then it's gonna flip. It'll flip. So right now you're going through some pain, but I'll be feeling that pain in about maybe, I don't know, 3 years when my daughter goes through her twins.
I've heard the exact same thing. Like I take it up front, and the girls give it to you a little bit later on in life. So I bless you and look forward to sending good juju your way in the next several years.
Appreciate that, sir. Last two are career related for the Life of Dad Quick 5. Who were some of the actors you looked up to when you started pursuing a career in acting?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a few people who are like, I share a birthday with Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy is the first back-to-back Academy Award winner for Best Lead Actor. So I've always enjoyed his work. I've always loved Gene Hackman. I think Daniel Day-Lewis can do no wrong. Meryl Streep is in that category, Kate Blanchett. Like, these are all people whose work, Denzel, I adore. And then on a personal level, just recently working with Courtney B. Vance on this show, him being another black man who went a similar sort of route as I did, starting in theater, going to grad school for acting, and then sort of moving from that platform, him having two children as well. It was really wonderful to now count him as a friend and a mentor, and just talking about life and trying to balance celebrity with family, trying to balance work with being present for your children, and just really trying to figure out how all those pieces fit together in a way that yield you the best possible life. Not always the best possible career, but the best possible life has been invaluable. So Courtney's my hero, and I'm so thankful that I got a chance to know him.
Love it, man. And lastly, and I know there's a ton, and maybe you don't have to answer an actor, but maybe your next role. But for you, is there one person you love to work with in your next role, or to make it a little bit easier, what would be like your next awesome role that you would love to land?
That's a great question. I remember several years ago when I was working on Army Wives in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was telling a castmate of mine that I'd been reading this comic book about the Black Panther. And it had just been sort of updated by Reginald Hudlin, who I just worked with on the film Marshall. And I was saying, like, man, how cool would it be, like, if they actually made a movie out of this? And my friend was saying, this was like 10 years ago, he said, you should get the rights. You should get the rights to it and everything like that. And I was like, man, they're never going to make a black superhero movie. What are you talking about? Get out of here. So to see, like, everything that's transpiring now with the Black Panther is beyond cool. And I could not be happier for Chadwick, who I got a chance to work with on Marshall as well. if I could inhabit that Marvel universe, that would be pretty darn cool. So that would be pretty fantastic. I don't know if that'll happen or not, because I'm blessed to be working right now on This Is Us, and I don't know how long the season will be, or if it would conflict with it. But if there's a way in which I could make my way into that, or into Luke Cage or anything else that's happening on the Netflix side of the Marvel Entertainment thing, that would be pretty cool.
Nice. I'm looking at my Black Panther bobblehead doll that my daughters got for me, because they like, when I was talking about because the movie came out on my birthday and I came back and they're like, how was it? And they don't see those movies just yet. They will in the future. I was like, It was great, but man, Black Panther was so awesome. And like, really? I was like, yeah. And I can't wait for the Solo movie. So you're right, man. I'm a big fan of Black Panther.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic.
And like you said, though, people concentrate on NBC's This Is Us. It's going to premiere tonight, Tuesday nights on 10/9 Central. Follow Sterling on Twitter. It's always inspirational. Follow him. It's at SterlingKB, the number 1. And it's such an honor to chat with you. I can't wait for people to experience this show. I hope it goes on for season after season, because I love the message, especially the time and the climate of America right now. But continued success, and I appreciate you chatting fatherhood with me.
Thanks a lot, brother. It's been a pleasure. A real, real pleasure. Look forward to doing it again.
All right, you take care, sir.
Back at you, man.
All
Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye. What's going on, everybody? Art 80 here for the Life of Dad show and online. I'm so excited to have actor, author Greg Grunberg. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Greg. How you doing, sir?
Hey, man. Anytime.
Here at Life of Dad, we love to get everybody's take on fatherhood. For you, what were some of the first few thoughts that popped into your mind when you found out you're going to be a dad for the first time?
You're so proud, and you're like, hey, my seed, I'm passing on my name. All of those things, but none of that is real until you have the child, and you and your wife, you and your spouse, you alone, whatever it is. It's all just so incredible that you've got this sponge. You can really shape a person to be as good as you want, and hope that the world could be. I'm so lucky. I'm so proud of my 3 boys. My wife and I work really, really hard, and it's the single most rewarding thing in the world. It makes everything else not matter. And I mean that. I care about everything I'm doing, and I'm passionate about it, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's the one thing that if you can take away everything else, and I'm still the richest guy in the world because of the family that I have. And we've been through tough stuff. I've got my oldest son has epilepsy, and we're dealing with seizures, and he's doing well now. I've got a website called talkaboutit.org, and we've partnered with the Epilepsy Foundation and this amazing company called Synovian, and together we're trying to remove the stigma attached to epilepsy and find a cure. And all of that gives life purpose. I don't wish it on anybody. I wish I was not in the club of someone who has a child that has epilepsy, but I'm a proud father, and no matter what my kids are going through and what we're dealing with it together. There's nothing like it, as you know. It's just the best, absolute best position in the world to be a parent, and especially a father.
No doubt. Talkaboutit.org as well. We'll put that link up at Life of Dad as well for people to check that out. You play a lot of good guys on the film and TV and all that, but what are some of the core values you look to instill in your kids in real life?
Just to be a good person and to hopefully do something for someone else without wanting anything in return. Like, if you can do that in your life, take care of yourself, be a good person. But, I'm always telling them, I'm like, I don't care if you hold the door open for somebody or if you start a charity for somebody. And we're always concentrating on bettering ourselves, getting this, getting that, possessions. None of that really satisfies you until you really do something good for other people. That's the most rewarding thing in the world. My band from TV is an example of that. We have a bunch of actors that are, we star in different TV shows and stuff. We give ourselves to this band. We've been doing it for 10 years. We've raised millions of dollars for our various charities, and it's the most satisfying thing that we do.
Love it, man. Keep up the great work, and you're leading by example with your kids by everything you do.
Thank you.
Awesome job. And for, going back to AMC's Geeking Out right now, I'm guessing you and your family geek out on a lot of things. Is there anything that your kids are like, hey, you should talk about this on the show? Have they inspired you for an episode at all, or no?
Oh, for sure. They're tapped into really what's current and what's playing well with their friends and stuff. And there's a show called Stranger Things on Netflix. I mean, that thing is unbelievable, and it's got kids in it. I started watching that because of my son. My son Ben turned me on to Daredevil, which is such an unreal show. I mean, it's just awesome. It's on Netflix. I get a lot of that from them. Now I have to research everything, but I'm always asking what they're into and what they're binging.
Yeah, man. Daredevil, especially Kingpin by Vincent D'Onofrio, crazy good.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I love it.
Now we got the Life of Dad Quick 5. We talked about some shows, but what is your favorite family movie you guys like to watch together? Is it Star Trek or Episode 7?
Wow, it was Star Wars. Now it's Star Trek. Let's put it that way.
Nice,
Whatever's
man.
out in the theaters, man, that's what we're excited about.
You know, you're a musician as well. Is there a favorite song that you and your family like to sing and dance to as a family?
Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Nice, good song. Describe the perfect family vacation. Where would it be?
Wow. On a lake, I would say Cooperstown, on Lake Otsego, with a pontoon boat and a bunch of sandwiches.
Nice. All right.
Yep.
Favorite Star Wars character and favorite Star Trek characters are?
Han Solo, by far, hands down. And favorite Star Trek character, Mr. Spock.
Nice. In the first episode, you know, where Kevin Smith is talking to Matt Damon about, you know, trying to audition him for different roles and all that. If you could be any Marvel or DC hero or villain in the next movie, what would you love to play? If someone's like, hey, Greg, you can have carte blanche, any character that's not been taken, go ahead and get this.
Oh, dude, if I could play Luke Cage, I would kill. I'm not black and I'm not built like that, but I have to say that character, and we're having him, the actor, on the show. We just had Jeff Loeb on the show, who runs Marvel TV. That show is going to be iconic and just amazing. It's a spin-off of Jessica Jones, and I can't wait for it. That's a character I would love to play.
Very cool. Folks, if you can tell through this conversation, Greg is a geek about everything. You understand that AMC picked a great co-host with Kevin Smith. Greg, continued success with everything you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to chat about fatherhood, man.
You rock, and thanks for being the father you are, and thanks to all the dads out there that are breaking their butt to do better for their kids. Thank you.
Man. Take care, man.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.